congratulations for the launch of the ASEAN EU Blue Books 2021.
This year, the EU is celebrating
the 41st anniversary
of our partnership with ASEAN.
The EU is pleased to be ASEAN's strategic partner
and looks forward to strengthening our partnership
and helping to build a stable and secure region.
With vibrant and sustainable economic growth
that leaves no one behind.
We are pleased to present
the EU-ASEAN Blue Book 2021.
Kumusta ka? Diversity. Ikinagagalak kitang makilala. Being
open-minded.
together. Oneness.
Tolerance.
Unity.
Unity is one mind in body.
Accepting differences. Harmony.
Unity is what makes us stronger.
Happy Europe Day!
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Jakarta, Indonesia. Good morning or even good evening to all of you from different countries around the world. Welcome to second regional Youth Talk as the ambassadors Youth in the Times of Pandemic on Saturday, 8th of May, 2021. I hope you guys are doing well, healthy, and happy. Today, it's the second session after we got the first Ask the Ambassador sessions done on the 8th of February 2021, and this session will be in 1.5 hours. Today we also have a very special moment. It's Europe Day, and I'm sure you are very excited and can't wait to hear and watch and even learn more from Ambassador Igor Driesmans as the EU ambassador to the ASEAN. Before we start and listen to the ambassador's speech, allow me to share my experiences, activities under the Indonesian Youth Diplomacy. So the IYD has been established since 2013. I was one of the co-founders, and it's the official committee for G20 engagement groups. So there is a global network called G20. It includes 20 members, which has almost 80% of the global GDP. Without further ado, I'm happy to share you to watch the video of what the Indonesian Youth Diplomacy is. Let me ask my colleague to share the video. Let's watch it.
Negeri
Okay, that's the video. As you have seen that it started since 2010 and it was used to be the G8 or G20 Youth Summit Indonesian Organizing Committee, and then we got rebranding and changed the name as the Indonesian Youth Diplomacy in order to make it more inclusive. And we are non-profit organization, so it's an independent youth organization aiming to promote international exposure for Indonesian youths and proliferate youth empowerment nationally for the next generation of Indonesian leaders. But we are also open for any collaborations from international members or communities and other countries who would like to share more about youth diplomacy. So basically, our top program is called Youth 20 Summit. So we annually send Indonesian delegates to the Youth 20 Summit as a part of G20. And then we have Youth Talk. It covers different topics, and we also have Meet the Diplomats. I think this is very interesting for you all because it's like a sharing session from foreign ambassadors. For example, like Ambassador Igor, we are very happy to invite you to our organization to share more about youth diplomacy. And the youth from different countries can share any thoughts or even ask any questions. Perhaps you guys would like to collaborate or have any projects together that you would like to know more about Europe or ASEAN or Asia or even the G20 itself. And the members of IYD basically were coming from the alumni or the former delegates. We've got right now around 50 alumni from different backgrounds, academia, industry, startups, politics, NGO. And one good news that I would like to share to you, next year, Indonesia will become the host of G20 and U20 Summit, and the IYD will be officially the host for U20 Summit. So if you are very interested to join, we are going to organize workshops, trainings, and of course the summit itself. Hopefully it's going to be hybrid, so it can be virtually open for public. And if you are very eager to know more about that program, we are now preparing. Actually, I will share you the slide how to contact us, as I'm aware that perhaps you are very familiar and very popular with Instagram, so we also have Instagram account. Perhaps my colleague would like to share the slide. Yeah, so here we go. That's the way you can connect with us. Go to our Instagram, follow our Instagram account, or you can stay updated with us there because it's a daily basis to share about our events or activities. It's called iYouth Diplomacy, or you can email us through info@indonesianyouthDiplomacy.org. And we also have the website. You can even explore about the youth communique as the outcome of the Y20 Summit, the delegates, the program, the events that we've been doing so far. And it's been around 7.5 years for now. So you go to the indonesianyouthDiplomacy.org, and I'm very happy to collaborate with you all. I think that's all from my slide. Maybe next one. If you would like to stay connected with me, I also have Instagram. You can go to my Instagram as well, Gracia Paramita. And of course, I'm very happy to be connected with you all. So that's about my organization, the Indonesian Youth Diplomacy. And today, I'm not alone to be the moderator. I have a partner, and he's from Thailand. So I call Bright right now. Hello, Bright.
Hello, Gracia.
How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you very much. Today is such a
How's
great
the
day.
weather in Thailand?
Oh, yes, it is such a beautiful weather today. It's been raining for a few days, but today it's rise and shine, like
Great.
bright, like me. Yeah, so I
Okay,
think today
I'll
it's
take over to you for the
okay.
next presentation.
Yes, thank you. I think that today is a good day to come and discuss about and share our story as well. So my story, it will be about my journey related to the Global Youth Preparedness Network. So, but first, let me introduce myself. Why we're waiting for the presentation from my colleagues. My name is Kitikun Saksung. I'm a coach very nicely and very enjoy with everyone. One thing that we get to learn with the community here, we get to learn about the policy, related to the global level, which is the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, which is a very nice one that we can take forward to discuss and find a way that where young people can voice out on, and participate in the decision-making process at both national and the global level. And those knowledge is really great because I get to use that, and not only the knowledge, but also the network that I'm joining to extend to my professional life, which is which is my work as a youth engagement officer at UNDP Thailand. And I also get to mobilize young people through the biodiversity issues and climate issues. And because I learned so much about the youth challenges through this network, I get to explore that and share the stories with a lot more of my friends and the network that I built with the support of the UNDP Thailand, the Center of Excellence on Biodiversity Management, and to establish the Thailand Youth Biodiversity Network in Thailand, which we already gathered around 50 young people from Thailand nationwide to come together and learn about the national policy and also voice out their opinion about the situation to the global policy. And after the event there, I get an opportunity to join at the event called OEWG2, which is the previous slide. The full name is the second open working group for post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, which is a place where different parties from the government and also private sector and civil societies come together and discuss about the directions for the global policy that will take place and guide the directions of the biodiversity forward for the next 10 years. And at that setting, I get to learn a lot about how young people can be engaged in that international dialogue. And thankfully, thank you very much for the support of the European Union, who support me as one of the 2 ASEAN youth leaders from through the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity to join the program. So yeah, from that event, I get inspired a lot and come back to work with my team at the GYBN Thailand to set up the public hearing for young people for the draft biodiversity. And then we learn a lot throughout the process about how we can actually engage to the policy level. And as some of you might be wondering if through that process it is really work, is it really happening? Because as some of you in different countries might have some different contexts and challenges in the engagement of the young people. But I need to say that at this time, especially in the pandemic, there are lots of issues that has been emerged and popped up that we can see, and it's a great time for young people to voice out and then bring those issues to talk with different generations to find the solutions. And as some of the slides has been passed here, one quote that I would like to give you as well is that nothing about it without it is the same as the issues of young people participating in the policy decision making level. Because as we see right now, some of you, if some of you have already observed, some of the policy or some of the work that's being implemented, some of them are efficient and not efficient. So especially on the youth-related issues. So we as a young person, we can take part in that and voice out the most updated situation to those people at the policy making level to help each other and strengthen elements that will help each other, both youth and different partners, to be able to strive forward to the vision that we'd like to have together in like the near future together, especially in the recovery of a pandemic like this. And yes, like last thing, when we talk about the engagement at the policy level like that, it might seem to be like taking so much time, and it might seem like so tiring for some of us. And I would like to say that it just seems like when we grow, like planting or grow the trees, we are not expecting to grow tea beautifully with a huge bucket of water, right? It just takes like a certain amount of water, a little drops, like constantly to make it grow beautifully. And this is the hope that we can help each other to pass through these challenges. And I hope this message really help you all to be hopeful throughout the challenges that we all face right now to the pandemic, and then see and hopefully we are reaching the future that we want together in the near future. Thank you.
Thank
Back
you,
to
Bright.
Grace.
That's so interesting. I am very happy to hear about your stories. And actually, there's a cross-cutting issue. The biodiversity is also a part of G20 issues, or specifically U20, because we're not talking just about economy or digitalization, future of work, but we are also concerning now about social justice, human rights, youth rights, disability groups, and of course about sustainability, climate change, and environment. And I'm sure all of you guys as young people are now very aware of SDGs. And as I can see your slide, that there there are a lot of opportunities and collaborations among youth in ASEAN or even European Union to support SDGs goals. And I'm sure we are very happy to hear more about that as well from His Excellency Ambassador Igor Driesmans. Now, I'm going to invite His Excellency Igor Driesmans. Before we ask him to join with us, allow me to give a short profile of him. So, His Excellency Igor Driesmans is the EU ambassador to ASEAN, and he presented his letter of credence to the Secretary General of ASEAN, His Excellency Dato Lim Jo Khoi, on 2nd October 2019 at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta. Prior to his appointment as the EU ambassador to ASEAN, His Excellency Igor Driesmans was a member of cabinet of the High Representative of the EU for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, or Vice President of the European Commission, Federica Mogherini. Without further ado, I would like to invite and call Ambassador Igor. Hello. How are you, Ambassador Igor?
Very well, thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, we are very happy and excited to hear more about your story. So I will let you give the floor. The screen is yours, Ambassador.
All right, thank you very much. Grazia, it is. And dear youth from across the region, very happy to be here and grateful that you're willing to spend your Saturday afternoon on EU-ASEAN issues. I think I'll be rather quick in my presentation so that we can spend more time in questions and answers, because that's really what's the most interesting part. So we prepared a short presentation and I'll just run through it. Basically, there's a few things I wanted to briefly mention before we go to the Q&A, and that would be first of all about COVID-19 and how it has affected ASEAN. I think it's an unavoidable topic these days. Secondly, speak a little bit about how we as European Union have tried to work with ASEAN in tackling COVID-19. And then talk a little bit about youth. And finally, mention two of the EU priorities more globally, which is the European Green Deal and the priority of digitalization. So maybe you can turn the slides. Thank you. Here you have a very simple graph of how COVID-19 has impacted the different ASEAN countries with the number of confirmed cases per million. You can see, well, first of all, I should probably mention that this is obviously dependent on the number of tests that are being done in the different countries. So I don't think it necessarily gives you the exact picture of each and every country and the number of infections there, but it did give you some indication of what has been going on in the region. And you can see globally two big waves, the big wave between April and August 2020, and then a second wave around the beginning of this year. And of course, each and every country has, just like in Europe in a way, especially during the start of the crisis, had different policy responses. And I think you can see that also in the way that the virus has developed over the months. Next slide, please. And obviously, the virus has had a knock-on effect on the economy in the region. You can see there 5 different countries and how their GDP growth has been affected. And I think you can see amongst the ASEANs, clearly Vietnam is doing best because they have by and large been able to keep the virus out even to today. But also for Vietnam, there's been a say decrease in the GDP growth. But overall, there is an expectation that in 2021 growth picks up again, albeit not necessarily at the levels before. I mean, all this is all the more remarkable because ASEAN is known worldwide as being a region where say the annual growth has been of about 4.2%, so one of the best performing regions in the world, and also a necessary vehicle if we want to reduce poverty. Next slide. There has been not only a knock-on effect on the economic growth, but also on people, on communities, on their health, and on, say, human development, up to the point of testing in some countries also the social and political cohesion. Next slide, please. As I said, the different countries in ASEAN have had different policy responses, but all of them had to balance between, on the one hand, preventing and addressing the health impact of COVID-19, and at the same time maintaining economic activity. And that's been a challenge not just for ASEAN countries, but for just about any country around the world. How do you keep your economy afloat? How do you even stimulate your economy if at the same time you have to close down economic activities because you fear that there will be a negative health impact and that the virus will be circulating all the more. So what ASEAN has been trying to do is been basically to facilitate the communication exchanges, information sharing about what was known about the virus, sharing infection statistics and response updates. And I think especially in the beginning of the crisis, say back in March, April, May 2020, I think you could see that many countries had already been able to cope or draw the lessons from previous outbreaks of different viruses in their respective countries and were somewhat better equipped, I would even say, than many of the developed countries. So that's just a quick reminder on ASEAN and how the different countries have been impacted by the virus. A word now on EU-ASEAN. From the start, we have been very quick to reach out to ASEAN at political level to say that we need to tackle this crisis together. And back in March 2020, we were actually the first partner of ASEAN to hold a virtual foreign ministers meeting dedicated to COVID-19 to see at political level, how do we cooperate in terms of mitigating the social and economic impact? How do we keep supply chains open? And how do we advance scientific research? I think there was also a political message there from both our regions which is that this is very much a crisis that demands a science-based approach, a science-based response. So there's no point in pinpointing one or the other or playing a blame game. We needed to find the right scientific approach to it. So we've been following up with expert dialogues on COVID-19. One was held in December last year, and the next one will be held on the 25th of May. So where experts from Europe and ASEAN come together to discuss the cooperation on access and the distribution of vaccines. We also invite to these meetings people from the COVAX facility, from the World Health Organizations, because some of these issues are extremely technical and require that experts on both sides meet. So in addition to, say, the political level commitment, in addition to the expert dialogues on vaccines, we've also come forward with a Team Europe support package of over 800 million euro in the different ASEAN countries. That consists of several different issues. As you can see there, we support at the regional level the World Health Organization, also individually in each and every country, to help countries to address the health impact of COVID-19. We also contribute very substantially to the COVAX facility. I'll come back to that. And several member states, on the slide here is mentioned Germany, there's also Italy, who contribute to the ASEAN COVID response fund. So a very comprehensive package. And if you go to the next slide, you see some details of what that actually means in each and every country. Singapore and Brunei are missing here, but you can see the details for the 8 other countries. For example, in Cambodia, we work on supporting hospitals, water sanitation, hygiene, and nutrition. In Indonesia, we've been working with 2 hospitals, with civil society, and so on and so forth. You can find the details on this slide if that is of interest to you. But all in all, the response has been comprehensive, basically on 3 different parts. First part is support healthcare facilities and testing capacities. For example, as you can see, what we've been doing in Laos or also Cambodia. Secondly is the protection of livelihoods and the resilience of vulnerable communities. One example there is Myanmar, where we've been supporting factory workers who have been out of job because of the economic impact of COVID-19. And the third kind of way of providing support has been basic budget support. So we basically give money through the budget for economic recovery. So that's, for example, what we've been doing in Cambodia again. Right. Next slide. Thank you. Now, everybody's always wondering, that's all fine, but what about the vaccines? So a word about that, maybe. The main vehicle that we have chosen to support vaccination worldwide is the so-called COVAX facility, which is a multilateral facility which has been set up by Gavi and the World Health Organization, and which basic objective has been to make sure that vaccines come to reach middle-income countries and low-income countries around the world. Now, for us, that's been a very deliberate choice. We have been basically the one who originated the COVAX facility with a very strong purpose. That is that we don't think it's a good idea that individual countries engage in so-called vaccine diplomacy by sharing vaccines in exchange for political favors. Let me put it that way. I think what is needed is a multilateral, depoliticized way of sharing vaccines, and that's exactly what the COVAX facility is doing. And that's why we have and still are by far the biggest contributor as Team Europe, European Commission, together with our member states, of the COVAX facility. And if you go to the next slide, these were some of the statistics for ASEAN, with 32 million doses foreseen. For this year, we do hope that will be scaled up. And here you see the breakdown of what that means per country. In many of your countries, you will have seen COVAX deliveries arrive. I think in most ASEAN countries now. But as I said, we hope that as compared to those statistics that are mentioned there for Q1 and Q2, that we can actually go over and beyond the doses that are currently foreseen. But that depends mainly on production capacity, which is an entirely different issue as to the financing of the vaccines. I might add just here that in addition to financing of the COVAX facility, the European Union is also a major producer of vaccines. We have produced up to last week some 200 million doses for consumption within the European Union. But we have also shipped abroad more than 200 million doses to 90 different countries around the world, including several in ASEAN, Singapore, Malaysia, others. So I think that's a distinct policy of many other countries, including so-called developed countries. We've engaged in vaccine multilateralism, even though obviously we would all want there to be more vaccines available and more produced, not just for EU or ASEAN, but for consumption or being attributed around the world. So next slide. Now, apart from speaking myself, I'd also be keen to listen to you and how you have been coping with this pandemic, because it changes the life of a diplomat, I can tell you, but it also changes the life of each and every one of you. And I do feel that youth has been disproportionately hit by this crisis in so many different ways. And if you can go to the next slide, there was actually a report done by the World Economic Forum, whereby they asked a number of questions, and 69% of the survey participants found it difficult to work or study remotely, and some 7% said it was totally impossible. And having two teenagers at home who tried to study remotely, I can testify to how difficult how difficult it is. Now, there's trying to find also the good news out of the crisis. The same study by the World Economic Forum found that 48% said to have learned to be more resilient, more prepared for future pandemics, and 41% said they had learned more skills or new skills. And again, some 38% said they had learned to think creatively. Anyway, these are just some statistics that we found, but again, I'd be more than keen to listen to not just your questions, but also your experiences and how you got through this year and what this has meant for you and possibly your future. Now, staying maybe with some of the youth engagement that we as EU have within ASEAN, if you could show the next slide. We have a number of programs ongoing. The first one, maybe the most important one for you, is education. I'm very happy that we have been able to extend our SHARE program until the end of 2022 with new scholarships coming online. Do look out for the possibilities that would be provided there. Secondly, through the Erasmus Mundus, if you can go to the next slide, joint master degree. Again, a number of participants, students here have been able to take part in that. Almost 1,000 students have been able to make use of those scholarships. Next slide. Beyond education, we also work on a number of concrete projects where we try to add a youth dimension. I'm speaking about farmers' access to social protection, the so-called Farmers Project, our Switch Asia project, or indeed if you go to the next slide, the biodiversity one, but Bright has been speaking about that so eloquently, I don't need to repeat all of that. So that's basically some examples of our engagement with youth. So before I finish, I just want to point out two big priorities for the European Union, our two overarching priorities where we hope basically to prepare Europe for the future. The first one is the European Green Deal, which might be known to some of you. The one point that is known most is its objective, which is to make Europe a climate neutral continent by 2050. So basically to reduce the net emissions of CO2 to zero by 2050. It's a very ambitious project, which involves not just the governments, but also an important transformation of our industry, of our business, but also of, say, any kind of a citizen in terms of their behavior, the way they go about their lives. And as you can see on this slide, it really talks about many different issues, from clean energy to the way we do agriculture, to the way we make our homes more energy efficient, to eliminating pollution, and so on and so forth. And of course, that's something that we're also engaging our friends in ASEAN on. So that's the first big priority. The second one is digitalization. as the Green Deal has grown more important in the COVID crisis, in a way, also digitalization has grown more important in our attempt to build back better. Digitalization has different elements, but maybe the most important one is on the regulatory side. We need to establish the rules of the game and make sure that we can actually foster that digitalization across the EU. Very last slide, I promise, is maybe an inspiration also for you. It's a word about the European Union internal EU strategy. And it's based on 3 different pillars. The first one is to engage, so encourage participation of youth in the decision-making within the European Union. And we've basically constructed an EU youth dialogue, whereby in each and every member state of the EU, we set up working groups on a number of themes. That's the future and the quality of employment, that's access to education, but also a dedicated one to rural youth and the opportunities for youth living in rural areas. So all these working groups in these different member states make recommendations, and once a year this is discussed in this EU youth dialogue with the decision makers of the EU, and that makes for a very interesting and lively event. The second one is Connect. Again, we spoke about the Erasmus programs, the exchanges that we need. And the third one is the empowerment of youth with a focus on employment, mostly, because also in Europe, there's a real issue of youth unemployment. I'll stop here. I promised to be short, but I realized I've been too long anyway. But I think that goes with the job. So I'm all yours.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Igor. Thank you for your insights and thoughts, especially the data or statistics regarding how the youth can be influenced or can have roles in during the COVID-19 pandemic. And just to let you know, guys, there will be quiz, and the questions might be related to Ambassador Igor's slides. So be, remember of those data and bear with those presentations. Okay, now we are going to do the question and answer. I'll let Bright to lead the sessions first.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for a very great presentation. So it's now time for the Q&A. If anybody has questions, feel free to put it up in the Q&A. So we will pick some of them to ask Mr. Ambassador right now, and we apologize in advance that we might not be able to answer all the questions because with our limited time that we have right now. So let's start with the first one. Let me invite Garian Novanto to ask Mr. Ambassador the questions. Please open your mic and video to ask the questions directly. Over to you, Garian. Sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly.
Gary, you may start your video and unmute yourself to ask directly to Ambassador Igor.
Okay, if we seems to not be able to get Garian up here, so I will read the questions from him or
Go
her.
ahead.
I'm sorry. The question is: as ASEAN millennials, what? As ASEAN millennials. Oh, hi.
Hi.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, please.
My name is Gary.
Questions.
Yeah, I want to ask about my question. As the millennials, Asian millennials, what movement that we can do to contribute and give our support to the problems that happen, especially in Southeast Asia, especially in Myanmar, because there are a lot of demonstrants, protests, and also young generations that have been killed for their movement for justice in this pandemic time. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And shall I respond directly, or you want to take a few questions?
Can we have one more question, Ambassador, and then you can answer?
Sure.
Is that okay? Okay. So the second question will be coming from Deanita Moina. Perhaps you can turn on your video and unmute yourself and ask directly to Ambassador Igor. I give you the floor, Deanita.
Yes, we can see you. Raise your hand.
Yes.
Oh, hello.
Yes, we can
go
hear you.
ahead.
Okay, hi. So, my question is, because of the COVID-19 and everything, and everything that includes social gathering become virtual gathering, and after a year of pandemic, the term of Zoom fatigue appear, and how these virtualizations affected, diplomatic summit, government projects, and productivity in, European Union in Asian South. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanita. Now,
Yes.
Ambassador Igor, I will give you the time to answer the questions.
All right, thank you. Well, firstly, on Myanmar, I think you all know where the European Union stands on what is currently happening in the country. We've condemned in the strongest possible terms the coup that has taken place, and we've called for a return to the legitimately elected government. We've also sanctioned a number of people, as well as two companies owned by the junta. We've also stopped any support, financial support directly to the government. Now we have seen ASEAN taking a diplomatic initiative with the leaders meeting that was held in Jakarta, adopting, say, a 5-point consensus. I think we welcome that. That's a very encouraging step towards the resolution of the crisis. But of course, the issue will now be implementation of those 5 points, because clearly the killing in Myanmar has not stopped after the commander-in-chief has returned to Myanmar, and the humanitarian crisis has not stopped either. So it's important in our view that those 5 points of that consensus that was reached is being pursued with vigor and is implemented rapidly. And I'm sure that ASEAN countries think the same. So I think if you ask what can be the role of the youth, I think the first thing is to care, as many ASEANs do, to follow this, not to think this is an issue in some faraway country, but it's an issue that concerns not just all of ASEAN, but all of basically humanity. We should care about what's happening in ASEAN, in Myanmar, but also what's happening in other conflict countries around the world. The second thing would be to have your voice heard and to keep the issue under the limelight of your governments, because obviously in ASEAN and in Europe, there's a risk that the issue disappears from the media radar at some point, even though that the situation might still be very tragic. And then the last thing I'd say is to help push for a quick implementation of those agreements that were reached here in Jakarta. That's basically what I'd say on that. On the second question and the Zoom fatigue, I think we all feel the Zoom fatigue. I think it's difficult also in the office to keep the same kind of team spirit that there was in the past. I think that's normal when people don't meet each other anymore. You can do 5 Zooms a day. It's not the same as meeting somebody face to face. So I think that's just something that we have to cope with. I think we've been rather lucky when it comes to EU-ASEAN relations in that actually over the last year, it's been a good year for increased collaboration, increased cooperation. In December last year, we elevated our relationship to a strategic partnership. We've launched new programs on health. Some of them I was mentioning. We'll start another one on smart green cities. We've extended our share program, and so on and so forth. So the work continues, but I would be lying if I would say it's the same thing. Especially the diplomatic activity is hampered if you cannot travel, if you cannot even meet some of the colleagues here in Jakarta. I have not been able to meet since March last year, so I could as well be on the other side of the world. But we try to keep on pushing, keep on moving the agenda because it's important for, I think, our two regions. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. So let's move on to the next questions. Let me invite Liza. Sorry, Liza Pamidi Vidita from Indonesia to ask the questions to Mr. Ambassador directly. Please open your mic and video and ask. Over to you, Liza. Okay, I can see you up now. Please open your mic.
Liza, maybe we can help reading the questions.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. So your questions, Liza, in regard to the existing inequalities and power relations between rich and developing countries, can youth here in most developing countries in ASEAN benefit from post-pandemic digitalization? Yes, here's her question.
Okay. Shall I take this one, or you want to? Okay, good. I think it's absolutely right that digitalization can be, I say can be, a vehicle for bridging the gap between the poor and the rich. If I just give a very simple example, in many African countries for a very long time, they had missed the very basic steps towards establishing landlines for telephones and so on and so forth. And when all of a sudden the mobile phone was invented, many countries were able to make a jump, and basically in many countries never ever had in some of the rural areas landlines, but immediately jumping to the next generation of technology. I think that's definitely what digitalization can bring in terms of bridging the gap. Now, I think the biggest potential lies in education, where I think we've seen also through the last year that digitalization and education can basically ensure that also some of the poorer countries have access to good education through digital means. But I think the most important thing at this stage is sometimes very boring work of ensuring that for companies, for governments, the regulatory framework is set in place, and that the playing field is leveled, as they sometimes say in a bit of bureaucratic speech, so that companies and countries can cooperate and have a much more easy way of doing business.
Thank you, Ambassador Igor. We still have another question coming from Muhammad Iqmal. So I will give the floor to Muhammad Iqmal to turn on your video and unmute yourself. Please go ahead, ask to Ambassador Igor directly. Muhammad Iqmal, I can see your name here. Perhaps you would like to ask directly to Ambassador Igor. Okay, I think I can help him reading his question. So, what are the roles of youth for the equal vaccine rollout around the world? That's the question, Ambassador.
I don't know if I get the question entirely, but I do think that in many, say, especially developed countries, that youth has actually been the last one in the row when it comes to vaccination. The focus has been on the vulnerable people. The focus has been on the elderly people. And the reasoning has often been that youth is less prone to fall sick or to even die from the coronavirus. Hence, vaccination should happen only at the end. Some other countries have taken a different view. They say that youth are economic actors and should be vaccinated first. But I think especially in some of the European countries, but also the US, Canada, they've taken the reverse position to some extent, maybe for the right reasons, but still penalizing youngsters. So I don't know if that's the good answer to the question, but I think if there's one thing that youth can do is to help overcome what's still existing in terms of vaccine skepticism. I think we should all be ambassadors of, say, trust in our science-based approach, and to ensure that when the vaccination is offered to us, it is also our civic duty to take it, and that also goes for youth.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Yes. So up next to the question, to the next question. Please let me invite Alfan from Matia to ask the questions directly to the Mr. Ambassador. Over to you, Alfan.
Hello, Mr. Igor. Thank you so much for the moderator. Let me ask you some question. Maybe just relating what happened now in ASEAN between the. We know that the situation between People's Republic of China and some ASEAN member states became escalated. I mean, after the 9th land claim or South China Sea conflict, the cooperation or relation between some ASEAN country and China become quite heated. And my question is that any way to re-establish that relation between this country, I mean, between ASEAN countries, member state and China? And is that any possible way or a chance that we are, as a youth, to make the situation more better in the future? Thank you for the question. I think that is my question.
Okay. I think when it comes to the South China Sea, let me just say what our position is as European Union. You might know that we we do not take sides in any of the claims that are being issued by one or the other between ASEAN countries and China, but also amongst ASEAN countries, there is overlapping claims. But what we do say is that the international law and the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, and its 1982 convention has to be respected. And we have said this over and over again because it's basically the backbone of basic trust and cooperation when it comes to not just the South China Sea, but just any claim around the world. And by the way, we also have in the past some overlapping claims between European countries. So I think that's what we've been calling for. And in that context, it is not helpful, and it's actually rather concerning if we see some of the behavior in the South China Sea, where basically islands are being illegally occupied, or if exercises are ongoing, which go in the, say, 300 miles zone in a third country. So ASEAN has taken some initiative, has developed is developing together with China a code of conduct of how to go about these issues. I think we as Europeans and many others have said that we also have a stake in this. Almost half of our maritime transport goes through the South China Sea. This is not just an issue for one or another country. So we've made this position clear many times, and again last month after some of the incidents happened in the Philippines. Now, having said all of this, of course, it is important that one tries also, when you speak about youth, to establish good relations with anybody. And at least the ASEAN diplomats always tell me that they would not want to choose between one country or another country. Try to have good relations with everybody. So that's a challenge. If at the same time you need to have third countries respect your boundaries. So that's I guess that's why you need diplomats for. So maybe that's a career for you to pursue.
Thank you, Ambassador. That's very interesting answer, because we need to be respectful from each other, even from EU and ASEAN countries, especially regarding the South China Sea. That's like a long journey to overcome that problem. The next question is coming from YouTube, and it's from Senia. So, hi, I would like to ask Mr. Ambassador, do you have any tips on how we can stay motivated during this pandemic?
I was going to ask you guys the same thing. I think there's only one thing I can say, and it would be to try and do some sports. That's how I try to keep up and get your minds set on something different than what it is on for the rest of the day. Otherwise, try and go for a walk. Try to put the smartphone aside for an hour or two. And I was also told that it's very good to be in a green scenery. Now, if you're living in a city, it's not easy to go and have a walk in the park or have a walk in the forest. But yeah, I'm not sure I have a miracle answer on this one, though.
Okay. I actually would like to ask Senia if you have any following up question. If you want to talk directly to Ambassador Igor, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to ask, you mentioned sports. So what is your favorite sports? What activity do you do personally? Thank you.
Right. My favorite sport is playing football. My second favorite sport is watching watching football. And apart from that, I try to go running from time to time, cycling. I like just about anything. I must say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Very nice to know. And the next questions, it's from Nia Sarah Marjail Mashat. Would you like to ask the question directly to the ambassador? Are you here? Hi, Nia. We can see you now. Feel free to open your mic and ask the questions directly. Can you hear us? All right, maybe I can help you.
Sorry, here I am.
Oh, hi. Hi, Nia.
Oh, is my camera turned on? Sorry.
Yes, on now. Okay, over to you.
All right. Okay, I'd just like to ask, this is in connection with the question about digitalization. Since we know that education and digital needs are necessities that some developing countries cannot afford, how then can the European Union and the developed ASEAN countries, how can they help the developing countries with regards to this kind of issue now? Thank you.
Right. I think again, there is no miracle solution, but one of the things that we have been promoting is basically partnerships between universities. So rather than say purely government promoted, to encourage universities to establish partnerships, and that can be between a richer university from a say more developed country and a less developed country, so that some of the wealth of knowledge, some of the research that they have can be also to the benefit of other universities who may be less well off financially. And I think that's where digitalization gets so useful, because it would allow students from less developed countries to basically follow some of those more developed university courses. But yeah, this is a long-term process for sure, and definitely not an easy one.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. We still have another question. And now I would like to invite Syafa Rifki Failputra to ask directly. Perhaps Syafa Rifki would like to say and talk directly to Ambassador Igor. Yes, I can see your name now. You can talk. You may ask directly to Ambassador Syafa Rifki. Or I can help you reading the question. Okay. So this is the question. In the field of education, is there a cooperation program between ASEAN and Europe for the provision of college scholarships? I think this is something related to Erasmus Mundus, maybe, Ambassador?
That's right. So we have the Erasmus Mundus program. So I would advise you to say on a regular basis check what the possibilities are, because there are quite a few possibilities for students and scholars to study in Europe under the Erasmus Mundus program. So do be on the lookout for that.
Okay, thank you. And up next, I would like to invite Benhar Vimansaputra to ask the questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. I would like to ask the ambassador, what is the big obstacle for you as an ambassador to do your job, especially during this pandemic situation? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Benhar. I think diplomats, they live of face-to-face contact, because we're sent here all the way across the world to be able to get a feel for what lives in the country, to be able to communicate back home what countries think, how they feel, what their priorities are, so that we are able to establish a cooperation which makes sense and which meets the needs of the country. So to find kind of a win-win cooperation, but that requires talking to them, talking to officials here, but also different other layers of society, to not just get the official answer, but also to dig a bit deeper about the say the priorities, but also sometimes some of the concerns that ASEAN countries might have vis-a-vis the EU, some of say the irritants in the relationship. And doing all of that work by Zoom is definitely not ideal, because people on Zoom will only share very often a more official version. Well, if you can invite them for lunch or dinner, they might be able to you might be able to connect much more. You know, just about must have been 100 years ago, there was once a senator in the United States who said, "Why do we need the U.S. State Department? We just need a fax machine just to send other countries faxes." Well, I can tell you now that doesn't work. You need the face-to-face contact. So that's why also I am longing for the end of COVID. Back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ambassador Igor. I think now it's the time for us maybe to ask you. Bright, do you have any question?
Yes. Okay, I'll start first then. My questions will be, why did the EU launch the Southeast Asia Health Pandemic Response and Preparedness Project, and how will this project be implemented in this year's cooperation framework of EU-ASEAN Strategic Partnership?
Oh, wow, that's very precise. Basically, we decided to work with the World Health Organization, and we gave them a grant of a very substantial grant of 20 million euro to support ASEAN countries on the one hand, and to reinforce the ASEAN level, so that not only they could help, say, Indonesia, Thailand, or any other country to reinforce their health systems, but also that they could reinforce the regional cooperation on health preparedness. So that was the rationale behind it. And again, we tried to work with the World Health Organization because they are, say, the multilateral player in the health area. So it was also say a political message of going also on this issue multilateral.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I have a question, and I'm wondering about the green recovery from EU to ASEAN, and would EU or what has the EU done for developing the green recovery to ASEAN members?
Right. We have already quite a bit of cooperation ongoing. We support biodiversity programs, the sustainable management of pitlands, which is a very big issue. We are about to launch our Smart Green Cities program, but I think in the future, we really want to scale up our action on climate change because there is such a challenge out there. This really is the challenge of our lifetime. Every year, temperature is rising. We have natural disasters happening now in ASEAN every year. Yes. I don't want to paint a picture of total chaos that awaits us, but it is pretty dramatic. So I think we need to also make sure that all people understand this, which frankly is not the case. And it's about waste management, it's about energy, it's about all of these things. So we have quite a bit of work to do, but we hope to do it, of course, in partnership with ASEAN.
Great. Thank you so much, Ambassador Igor. That's very interesting and very interactive session. And as we have concluded the Q&A session, now we are moving on to the interactive quiz.
Yay. Coming to the quiz now. Everyone, let's get excited about it. Yes,
maybe we can start from the rules first, and then
yes.
Bright can share about the prize for winning the quiz. So here is the rules. There are 10 questions, and you will have 20 seconds to answer each question. The participants who can answer right and quick will get higher scores. Perhaps you are a bit familiar with Kahoot, so maybe the mechanism is a bit similar to Kahoot games. And then we will give prizes to top 10 winners with the highest scores based on the leaderboard that we will display by the end of the quiz. And if you see your username as the top 10 winners on the final leaderboard, please screenshot your monitor on mobile phone as the proof. Redeem the prize. Make sure your username is visible for the verification purpose. The winners are required to contact the committee via email, and I'm sure the committee will share specifically or in details through the chat box. So the email is eu-asean@landl-meals.com by informing their detailed address and proof of winning. So it's the screenshot of your username and the final leaderboard. The last one, we will arrange the prize shipment to your address without any charge. Yes. Shall we start, right?
Yes, of course. And after the end of these sessions, about the prize, the top 10 winners who get the highest score will get these bags, cups, and beautiful, cute blue and white bears. So watch out for it. And don't forget to capture your screen at the end. So for now, let's start. Shall we?
Yep. Yes, you can go to the link that we have shared through the chat box. So it's joinmyquiz.com and press the game code 580757. So how many people are we going to wait, right?
About
how many
50 people.
Sure. So guys, please be quick. I'm sure you are so excited about the questions and probably a bit nervous what kind of questions that will be delivered.
Yeah, some of them will be from the answers that Mr. Ambassador already gave us as well. So let's see how we can remember or like take those into this quiz. So be quick, everyone.
Yes, now we are seeing almost 40 people. So we're still waiting another 10 people joining us.
Yes. Almost 10 more, everyone. Come and join us.
Okay, countdown by 10 seconds from now. Please be quick, guys. We are going to start soon. Okay, let's start. First question, Bright, over to you.
Yes. So the first question, when did the EU announce the Southeast Asia Health Pandemic Response and Preparedness Program? So the choices are, Grace, can you help me out there? Oh my God, this is so excited. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time's up. Who's the winner for this first question? Gabriela. Oh, no. Bruce.
Oh, wow. So the correct answer is December 2020. Okay,
Yeah.
everyone.
Congrats, Bruce. Next question. Get ready. In the spirit of global solidarity, the EU has launched the Team Europe package to support partner countries in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Is it true or false? 5 seconds left. Time's up. Who's winning the second question?
Is it going to be
still the same?
Wow, it's changing.
Oh, Salsabila.
Yes. The correct
Most of
answer
them
is
are
true.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
it's true.
Well done, everyone. So the next
Yay.
question. Let's go. What is the total amount of Team Europe's monetary contribution in support of ASEAN member states? 500 million, 600 million, 700, or 800 million? Right, everyone. Keep going. Only 10 seconds left. Time's up.
Let's see the winner this time.
All right. Wow, this has changed a lot.
Another person, Liza. Ambassador,
Liza.
you may read the questions for the next one, if you may. Let's go to the next question.
All right. The objective of the Team Europe approach is to combine resources from the EU, its member states, and financial institutions, namely the European Investment Bank and the European Bank for Reconstruction.
Is it true or false? Time's up. Who's the winner this time?
Wow, Liza, you stay strong there.
Oh, it's still the same. Well done, Liza. So it's true.
Next.
Okay, next question. Over to you.
Okay, so the question is, how long is the duration of the Southeast Asia Health Pandemic Response and Preparedness Program? And the choices are 36, 38, 40,
This should
or
be on
42.
the ambassador slide.
Yes, exactly up there. 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Time's
Time's
up.
up.
Who's winning?
Right. Yes. Wow. Everyone
Wow.
is doing so well for this one.
Liza is still on the top. Well done. Oh, so there are only 3 people who got correct answers.
Yes. Halfway now. Go on, Grace.
Okay. What is a global joint program in risk-sharing mechanism for pooled procurement and equitable distribution of COVID-19? Is it COVID facility, COVAX, COFIX, or COVAX facility? 3 seconds left. Time's up. Wow, Liza is still winning.
Impressive.
So the correct answer is COVAX facility.
Yes.
Ambassador Igor, you may read the questions for the next one.
All right, as of today, how many ASEAN member states have received the delivery of COVID-19 vaccine?
Oh my God, this is so easy. You guys should do it correctly.
Yes, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Everyone's so quick now. Almost done.
Time's
Time's
up.
up. Let's see.
Let's check it out.
Oh, Satrio.
Different person this time,
Where did it come from?
Satrio.
Yes.
So the correct answer is 5.
6. Oh, 5, sorry.
The next question.
Yeah, the financial contribution the EU made to COVAX represents more than 50% of the COVID-19 budget for the COVAX facility. Is it true or false? Is it true or false?
Come on, be quick.
Everyone. Thumbs up.
Time's up. Is it still the same person for winning?
Wow. Some changes.
Satrio is still on the top with Liza.
Yeah, well done. So the correct answer is false.
False. We still have 2 questions left.
Okay, Grace.
How many doses of the vaccine need to be secured to ensure that everyone can get access to a COVID-19 vaccine, including citizens of ASEAN? Is it 1.1 billion, 1.2, 1.3, or 1.4 billion?
Time's up.
Time's up. Let's check it out.
Liza is back.
With Alia this time.
Yes.
Different person. The correct answer is 1.3 billion. The last question, Brian.
Ambassador. Oh, bye. Okay.
Oh, okay.
No one is safe until everyone is secure is a phrase that has become a slogan for global health figures. Is it true or false?
Come on, guys. This is the last chance for you to win.
Yes,
the
quite
quiz.
agree, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, time's up.
Time's up. Let's see who are the winners. Ambassador,
there's no
you
change.
may read the winners perhaps after this. Maybe. Oh, the correct answer is false.
Yes, it needs to be everyone is safe at the end. Right. So let's see who's the winners here. Always at the first and okay.
Yay! Congratulations.
Congrats everyone. So here are the winners.
There are Liza, Alia, Kang, Salsabila, Satrio, Bruce. Number 7 with numbers. John, Terence, Jasmine, and Ayu. Well done.
Congrats to everyone. So don't forget to capture the winning evidence of yours and then send to the email that we showed you previously. And just wait there until we send you the cute and exciting prize. All right?
Yes.
So.
And if you don't win the quiz, don't worry, because we still have other opportunities, other quiz on social media. So bear in mind that you can check out our social media, EU in ASEAN. Go to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and type EU in ASEAN. And there will be more prizes and quiz that you can join and you can get as the winner. Now, I think, I actually don't want to close the session because I still enjoy this talk and I really enjoy being with Ambassador Igor with the presentations and question and answer. But perhaps this time I may invite Ambassador Igor to give the closing remark. Ambassador, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much for having me. I did enjoy the talk. Happy, so did you. So let's try to do it again from one other time. And congratulations to the winners of the quiz. I must say some of the questions were pretty tough, but well done.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Igor. And I think we've got 10 winners already for today, but we still have other winners on social media. And I've seen there are like 5 winners. Again, congratulations to all of you. And like we have reminded, if you become the winners, please send your screen capture of your name with the leaderboard and email us. I think our colleague just sent the email address to the chat box. So don't forget to send your data to that email address. Right. I think it's now the end of the session, right? Time flies.
Yeah, it's so quick. It's so nice, like to learn and to learn from the Mr. Ambassador and have learned so much about what's going on here. And we feel like yes, we can get. There's many ways, and we can get through this from the support and with the help of each other, as well as our roles that we can play to make things better from this this time of challenges, right?
Again, thank you so much, Ambassador Igor. Thank you to all of you who have participated to this session today. Thank you, Bride, and thank you for everyone, especially our colleagues who already helped and organized this great and amazing session. And see you to the next or the other regional youth talk.
Yes.
Happy Europe Day.
Happy Europe Today, and thank you to Grace as well. See you next time.
Bye. Stay healthy.